Alrighty, let's get it going. Hey everybody, this is lovely Merdelus with the Financial Griot podcast. This is our first episode. I'm super excited because the three of us have been talking about wealth, talking about our life stories, helping each other, but now you guys get to hear us on a podcast. Sounds weird, but it's going to be really, really good. We're excited to have you if you're listening for the first time. Of course you're listening for the first time because this is the first episode, like duh. But Lawrence, Alainta, and myself decided that it would be really, really great if we get on a podcast so that you can listen to it anytime, because we have a clubhouse room that sometimes you miss. And this is a way to gather together and talk about our money stories, to talk about life in general and how to be better. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be great. And I'm going to say that again. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be great because I believe in speaking life into things. And I want you guys to know we're positive people, but you might hear some not so positive things throughout the episodes. So I just wanted to let y'all know that, it just might happen, but we're good people. We're good people. So we're going to set that tone that we're good and positive people. And so I'm going to let Lawrence and Alainta introduce themselves. They're the GOAT in their own personal stories, like literally GOAT, because the greatest of all time. And so Alainta is going to be segueing here and just introducing herself, and then she's going to pass it on to Lawrence. If she's nice to Lawrence today on this episode, you guys enjoy it, okay? Just really, really enjoy it. So Alainta, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, lovely? And welcome to all the listeners. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our first episode to our podcast. So like Lovely mentioned, we constantly, we create a room on the Clubhouse. So we just want to expand more, extend our reach here in the podcast. So like Lovely mentioned, my name is Alainta. So with my story is a pretty, I guess, normal story, how we start out with wealth. And that's, basically the negative, right? So it took a friend of mine to ask me, what is my net worth? And at that time, I was afraid to tell him because of the shame and the guilt and feeling lesser than. But I think with that conversation alone, kind of just pivot my own financial journey and now get into a positive network of over $200,000, as well as being a first-time home buyer, giving opportunity to my family to expand on the conversation of what is wealth to them. And what is wealth to me is sharing. I think that a lot of things that I could have prevented if I would have known is simply because enough of us do not share our stories and what is going on in our lives so others can learn and to pivot for their own experiences. So I'm just so excited. I'm happy to be here with you guys, be with my friends, my partners in crimes, even a little sprinkle of toxicity with Miss, Lawrence here and there, but I'm excited. So thank you guys for tuning in. Lawrence, you toxic today? Are you feeling well? Like what's your mood? What's going on?
Wow, way to kind of set the tone, make it seem like I'm the troublemaker out here, but I'm happy and elated to be part of this group, as well as to be surrounded by, pun intended, lovely young ladies who are also wealth builders and moving forward in our life cycles. I believe the reason that we picked the word the Financial Griot podcast is because the word griot itself, we're Haitian Americans. We didn't start off with that silver spoon. However, throughout our process, just like Alainta stated, we wanted to share all the pieces, all the nuggets to get us from point A to point B. And that's what the griot is all about. The idea that we are storytellers. We have a beginning, a middle, and an end to where we are. My net worth right now is me and my wife's net worth is over $500,000. So we're pushing towards $1 million status. And I think in our lifetime, we could definitely tackle the racial wealth gap. So part of what the ladies have been talking about is that we're going to talk about some hard-hitting, conversation that we need to have in our communities in order to get you from point A to point B. And that's our goal.
All right. Lawrence came in there real smooth. Look at that.
Hey, see, no toxic. Now we can actually have a conversation. What's up?
I know, no toxic.
It was good. I definitely think that we're gonna hit this nail really hard is Black wealth, and I think Lawrence mentioned that, tackle the wealth gap. It's gonna be it's not going to be. It is a big topic. We see the stats, we see the article, and it comes out like every year. And every year it comes out, like everybody's sharing it, everybody's commenting on it, but very little is actually being done. And one of the things you'll notice with us is that we're going to always point you to what action are you taking? Like, what are you going to do personally that will impact your life on the bottom line? When you think about everything, when business is being done as a business consultant, it's like, what's the bottom line? And the bottom line is, for your life, if you don't get your financial life together, other areas suffer. Your health, your relationships, the way you perceive yourself, value. I love how Alainta was very transparent and vulnerable to say, like, hey, when I got that question, it hit me like, wait, I don't want to say, and do I really even know? Because that's another thing. Do you even know what's your net worth? But we're going to talk about today is just like, what is Black wealth and why do we even feel like it's important? And I'll just tell you why for me it's important. Because for my mom, I grew up seeing her hustle. She worked really hard. She had a small business. She was working a day job. But I've also seen points of her life where there was $50,000, $100,000 checks on the dinner table. Like, that's like, oh, that's a lot of money. Not realizing it doesn't matter how much money you touch, it's how you keep it and grow it. And so when my mom had her stroke, I realized, oh crap, that silver spoon that I had is gone. Like, mommy paying for everything without me thinking about it, without me, questioning it. Because my mom was the type of person that whatever we wanted, she would make a way for it to happen. But I realized that once my mom was not able to work anymore, there was no more money. There was no provision for her. There was no life insurance. There was no, if she gets disabled, which she did. It really changed my perspective. And I was 18 at the time. So it was like, dang, we poor. What? Like, I didn't know. We had 2 cars. We lived in this beautiful home, and so it's like, okay, I didn't realize that until you're like, wait, she won't give me $20 no more. And, all these different things. So you started to realize something was going on with the finance, but it wasn't until she had the stroke and I had to go into her bank account. I had to figure out what she had and she didn't have, that I realized we poor. Like, we do not have. And that was a wake up call for me, I thought. But it would take me 3, 4, 5 years after to really realize, like, if I don't change the way I'm doing life, that I'm going to be in the same position. And I won't be able to help my children. So for me, Black wealth and wealth in general is not only about money, but it's a state of lifestyle that I want to live where I'm not under pressure, I'm not stressed, I'm not going crazy, and I have the freedom to have options. My mom didn't have options, and I don't want that. And I want that to stop with me. So I had to learn, I had to change my direction, and I'm still learning. I'm still making mistakes, but taking those mistakes and turning into lessons and actually making a change. And that's just where I'm at with my journey on wealth, like just learning and knowing my why and not just sitting here thinking that it's always going to be okay or I just can complain.
Right. That's actually somewhat similar to mine, because you mentioned about having more options, right? In my life, in my childhood, my father unexpectedly passed away when I was a child, and my mom had to go into survival mode because now she was raising at that time only 3 of us who were under the age of 3 at the time, so everyone was in diapers, right? And my mom didn't have much education, didn't speak the language as much. So it was complete survival mode. And I think seeing my mom go into survival mode for so long, I guess, that experience kind of just went on me to constantly go into survival mode. It's just having enough, right? Not just having, amplitude amount of money or investing or conversations about having options. I didn't think of options for me. It was about having enough for the next day, paying bills. Can you eat? Do you have clothes on your back? It was just survival mode constantly. So Black wealth to me is having options, not only having options, being well within those options, living optimized life of just being happy. And what that's looked like to me is allowing my children to being in a safe space and expose experiences to them that I wasn't exposed to because we didn't have the options. We were constantly in the survival mode. I don't want my children to be in survival mode. I want that to end with me. So the experiences that I'm learning and the lessons I'm learning within my journey of Black wealth is ultimately a sacrifice too, because I am sacrificing a lot of, delayed gratification, if you want to say, to have those things for the next generation or for my family. So those are things I'm really working hard to, and you guys keep me accountable. Little sprinkle toxic, a little bit of my wellness with Lovely, but that's what I really want. And I feel as though I got to this point because we shared, that first conversation with Lawrence about net worth and, introducing to Lovely, get on your podcast for the first time, just sharing and sharing and sharing. So we're creating a space that we could be vulnerable. We won't have all the answers because we're still trying to figure it out, right? But it's okay because everyone else in your circle and the people that you're reaching to are trying to figure out themselves. So I'm so happy that the Black wealth that we are attaining and getting to, it will lead those resources and guidance for the next generation. So Black wealth for me is having options and extending my reach to help others.
Wow, I can actually piggyback a lot from this conversation we were having right now. I think life finances itself, I think sometimes people think it's you can't have one or the other. You can't just live your dreams. You can't do all of that. But I think finances is just the intersectionality between our health, our wealth, our fulfillment, our relationships with other people. It's just the means by which we trade. Either trade knowledge, trade resources, trade time. Ultimately, finances finds its way in our lives. And to echo everybody else, I remember watching a lot of women in my family, a lot of my aunts struggle with money management. And even though they tried not, to put that in that face, that everything was all right, but I could still tell. I think they just, for them, they thought, oh, you're a kid, you're not paying attention. But I'm watching the way their hands would like wrestle with like a wheel behind, when they get bad news, or the way when my aunts would come in at after work, after a long day of work, she'd unplug everything, like all the telephones around, especially when it was all cordless, or cord in. She'll unplug every last one of them because she did not want to get any calls from the creditors. That scared the hell out of her all the time. And you could tell she just wasn't doing too well with that. And she was racking up credit card debt for whatever reason. I don't know if it was because she needed some stuff or she wanted some stuff. She just did not know how to manage it well. And it was catching up to her. So it felt like the walls were always closing in on her, which made it harder for the rest of the family to even expand and improve. I think that's what wealth is all about. The idea that we can have opportunities beyond just surviving. And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I share as much as I do. And one of those quotes that Lovely stated that comes around every year, I believe it says it's like the median wealth of a white family is $171,000 on average, about maybe 17 times the amount that the Black family has. The median for the Black family would be like 17,150. So it's always this extreme differential. Why? Because of ownership. And it's not just owning just like a home or investments. We don't even own ourselves. We don't own our own time. And we also, ultimately, we don't own our own authenticity. We do not allow, generally Black people to just be themselves. That's the big problem. And I'd want to encourage everybody, just in the end of the day, if you're not the one to go to brunch, that's okay. If you're the kid that loves to go to the library, that's fine too. If you're the kid that want to go to bars and novels over the day party, that's okay too. If you want to go for a hike, a walk, that kind of, we need to just untether ourselves from these ideas and allow people to be themselves. And therefore we can grow and expand our community in the way that we think about it. Maybe that might be toxic for some of y'all.
No.
Or triggering.
No, it's not.
No, we'll call you out when it's, a little fuzzy. But that one was... No, you hit a nail on that. The ownership of who you are, that authenticity, and the clarity of who we are matters so much. And if every day you're said this is what it is to be Black, and you're not checking off the boxes, and you feel like you have to live a life of performance, we end up having to perform our financial selves as well. We end up having to perform our relationship selves. And so you get in a relationship or you get in community and you feel as if like, well, if I'm not listening to this particular rapper or I'm not dressed this particular way, then I'm not necessarily Black. What ends up happening is that we're just making photocopies. And everybody knows that the original and the copies, the more you copy, it's not the same. It loses its luster. It loses its value. And if you cannot be honest with who you are or be okay with the person you are being not accepted, then you live a life where you do have to perform. And I think that's where the habits of like buying a home that's too big, buying a car that's too expensive, buying clothes that you don't even care to impress people that don't even like you, and you probably don't like them either. So it's like we do these things and then we're like, oh my gosh, we don't own anything. But I think it's so powerful that you said that owning ourselves, that is a gem. Okay.
I think it's the quote where they said that you are born an original, but yet people are striving to die a copy.
Woo.
The idea that you're always trying to be something that you're really not. And I found myself, especially in my 20s, in these type of like happy hours where I'm not even happy. I'm just out there just sitting there bored. I wish I was doing something else. So if given the opportunity, I would have rather just gone home and read some manga, and watch some anime. It was just me, or just go anywhere. I used to travel around DC when I got here, taking photos because that's kind of what I'm into. I'm not into everything that everybody else is into, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think not everybody has that spirit of self to really recognize you could be who you are without necessarily affirmation from others. You have to affirm yourself.
Absolutely. For me, I think when you guys both touch on it about the photocopies is not only yourself and actually feel as though that being Black or being beautiful is slightly different too. I had to validate my own beauty. Growing up, being my chocolate drop self, you're constantly being, I guess the standards of beauty is slightly different if you're not a particular shade, unfortunately. And I think that I try to place myself wearing colored contacts and different sort of hairstyles just to feel as though I am part of that beauty standard and not really taking more inward of who I truly am, because I didn't really like weave that much because I'm really tenderheaded. My scalp hurts. Like I didn't care, but the pain that in the torture and everything I was going through, just to show that this is what it means to stay beautiful or to be beautiful or to, I guess, be in the standard of even thinking someone who may be attractive to you, right? So I think that's a lot of photocopy that we don't realize that we're doing until we kind of just like sit still and to come to understanding that, hey, if you don't want to go out, if you don't want to put weave in your hair, if you don't want to do all these things, that's fine. The original people who are placing themselves in these like platforms and want to justify all these means doesn't necessarily mean that you are lesser than. So that's something I had to learn for myself. But I think it takes patience and time and self-actualization for people to come to that understanding too.
I think you have to leave. Like, you know what? I remember you before in college, and I also remember you after you came back from Korea. And I think there's a pivotal change that happened to you that's right then and there, where you left what they call the matrix. You left America. You left what it meant to be, whatever you're trying to be, and then you're casted all the way out there, and you just had to be yourself to survive. And I think when people are away from all these elements, they tend to find something different that was always there. And I think that to me is the difference change that I saw when you came back from Korea. It was almost like you're a different person. You're a person that was willing to really try new things, really understand new concepts, and just completely, learn. Like you were more open and available to learn. I don't think a lot of people are.
Yeah, when you're placed in a situation where you don't speak the language and you're trying to get around, so you're forced to learn. There's no way around it. You're forced to learn, but some people don't want to, I guess, get out their shell and out their safe bubble of their matrix, like you said. So for me, it was a lot of learning and coming back that I still took that same spirit of adventure and wanted to learn to better my life, because that bettered my life with that decision. Coming back, I'm still taking those same things to challenging to better my life. So yeah, that's a good connection, a good point too. You know, I got LASIK, so I didn't know how to act. You couldn't tell me nothing. I know how I can see. I got LASIK surgery, so that was like great. Like I felt like I was seeing everything in my first 20/20 vision. So that was awesome.
Lovely. Did you have any one of those like aha moments for yourself? Like, you know, what really changed for you in your process? Like what can you attribute it to? Like that moment, if there is a moment.
There's a moment. 2016, moving from Florida to New Hampshire, where there was nobody. And there's New Hampshire. Sorry, if you're from New Hampshire, you got, let me put some
no hate. No hate.
Is Black people in New Hampshire? Black people.
At the time, there was
there was her population.
I've been to New Hampshire. I'm like, I didn't see Black people.
I've been to Vermont and stuff like that. I ain't seen no real Black people out there.
And then not only was I in New Hampshire, I wasn't in Manchester where it's a little bit more. I was in Salem, New Hampshire, which is like very like, okay, it looked like I walked into like a 1960s movie. I always say that. Like I walked into the store, all I saw was a whole bunch of people with blonde hair, you know, at the cashier. And it literally looked like one of those old school movies. But before that transition, I had this epiphany from 2014 that I knew that if I wanted to become who I knew that I was called to be, that I would have to move. Mm-hmm. But it took me 2 years to make the decision to actually do it. Like, you know how you know that you need to do something? Knowing is one thing, doing it is a whole other thing. And I was literally in the space and I had already made decisions that I was going to go, but I already put in my mind, well, I'm not going to go for long. I'll just go for a couple of months. And I remember this conversation that I was having with Lawrence. I always bring up this conversation as well. Lawrence is good.
Y'all know this? I'm the person that always kind of sparks people. Just let y'all know. When y'all get rich, and y'all be on Oprah, I'll remember that.
Y'all heard that, right? Yeah, I heard that he's about to. What he really means, he's about to throw us under the bus on.
Oh yeah, I'll be on the opposite show. You know, watching. I'll be like, I'll be shitting y'all out. Y'all better call me out. Y'all better hype me up.
Rivalry, you know. So we were having this conversation, and I don't remember exact the words, but I remember how I felt. It was this weird, awkward pause. I think he heard what I was saying. And that's what I call, those are divine moments where the person is speaking, but it's just like it hits you differently. They could have said the same thing over and over, but that in that moment, how you felt, all the things. I remember I was in my mom's kitchen and he was just like, well, at one of these days, you're going to get fed up of caring of how other people feel about what you do and who you are. And you're going to stop caring about their opinions. And I was like, oh my God. I have spent 25 years of my life through the lens of my mom, of pleasing her, pleasing my aunt, pleasing my family. And I didn't have a space to be vulnerable. And I was already fighting for the semblance of what it means to be lovely. And I've lost relationships. I've lost things because I was trying to please. And I then, from there with parents, realized that I was in a group of people that I was also pleasing. So the greatness that was lying within me was on the other side of me deciding that it didn't matter what people are going to say. I didn't want to be that girl and my friend told me that too. That week was just a lot. And he said to me, people are going to say that you change. People are going to say, oh, you're hanging out with those people now. You don't care about us. We're the little guys. And he looked at me and said, but you need to be okay with that. Mm. And so that week, I just kept getting this message is if you allow people to dictate who you are, you will never become who you're supposed to be. And so I left. And in Salem for that 18 months, I was stripped in the sense of what I thought my identity was attached to. My identity wasn't in my accolades. My identity wasn't in checking boxes. My identity wasn't who I could please or who I could say yes to. But my identity was in who, for me, I believe in God. So whoever God created me to be. And so I leaned into that so deeply that it changed everything around me. I got out of debt. I got opportunities. I started a small business, and literally within 3 months, 90 days, I made like over $10,000. I'm like, wait, what is this? How do you do this? And it just started to, and what happened was, even now, anytime that I'm stuck, I know exactly where I'm stuck. I'm thinking about some judgment. I'm thinking about how somebody's perceiving me. And because of that 2016 experience, I can always go back and literally go back to that moment and realize, nah, you're going to do this for you. And you're okay with the outcome. I became okay with my decisions and whatever outcome they were. It didn't matter if the outcome was bad, good, whatever. As long as I knew that within my soul, I was doing it because I felt that this is what I needed to do, I moved in that. And so that was my moment. And I draw back to that week sometimes. Like one of the biggest things, I was trying to start a business and I was like, I drew back in that moment to make those decisions. So that was my aha. I got to go. And now I live in Massachusetts and living my best life.
Even, I guess, setbacks come in even when you think you found your opportunities as well. Like everything is running great. It's like a machine and it's just like an all automatic, right? And everything is fine. With me, there's been so many aha moments and getting to a, I guess, financial wellness pivot, if you would put it that way. But last year, man, 2020 wasn't the best year for a lot of people. But within that year, I was able to not only get a higher paid position, but I actually paid off one of my student loans that I think I don't thank myself enough, or I don't, piggyback enough on that, paying off one of my student loans like in full. That was a great feeling. And I was able to buy a home in 2020. So I was excited. I finished my master's degree finally. And it was just so many accolades and so many accomplishments. Like, yo, I'm doing this. This is great, right? And then you get the conference call. I was laid off. This is a month after I closed on my house, this beautiful townhouse. I closed on my house and now I'm being laid off. No income coming in.
I remember the likes. I remember people you posted, like everybody always posts. And
yeah.
The likes are coming in. They're like,
I had close to 500 likes. Like, what?
Like, people wanted to know the gems. They're like, give us the gems.
Yeah, like, how did you get this home? Like, I felt like that girl. Like, I felt good. And, and everything was just, like, great. And to get laid off, like, I was extremely, extremely scared. Like, I didn't tell you guys almost a week or two that I got laid off because I had to process, right? But I didn't cry. I panicked a little bit. Anxiety kind of filled in my chest, like your chest feels tighter. So that's how I know it was anxiety. But I remember sitting there in the guest bedroom. I was in my office sitting there and looking out at my neighborhood. It was a beautiful day. It was in November, December, beautiful day. And I'm just looking like, yo, God brought me too far. I came too far in everything that I have put my effort in and everything that I have fought so hard to get to this point, for him to just let me fail like this. And I spoke it out loud. I was speaking to myself and I'm just like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm afraid and I don't know what to do, but I felt as though something came over me to say that I'm going to be okay. I told myself, I think I said twice or three times, I'm going to be okay. And I took a deep breath. I stopped looking out and, the neighborhood, stopped looking out the window. And I just went to work. I got on the computer. First, I told my significant other at the time, I told him what happened. I got on the computer, filed unemployment. I think I paid off one of my auto insurance, and I look for a cheaper auto insurance for renewal. I just start listing everything that I need to do to kind of just compile, my expenses. Like, how can I just pay less money, what I was making, because I was no longer getting that income anymore. I just went to work. And, after, telling my family member, my sister would tell me, hey, you need to apply for this, go ahead and apply for EBT. Like, everything that I was doing. And I'm just talking to my best friend. She revamped my resume for me. She's like, okay, this is what you can do. And, just revamp this, say this a little bit differently. And that entire week. And I was still scared. Like, it was just a feeling like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I just really can't explain it, because I still knew I was going to be okay. I'm like, and I think I had to boast a bit and write down my accomplishment. I remember Lovely at it was some like live Facebook thing you were doing or something, but you always mentioned about writing down your accomplishments, things that you have accomplished, things you have done. And I remember in the living room, I was just writing down my accomplishment, like finishing, paying off one of my student loan debt, over $6,000, getting my master's degree, getting a home, biggest accomplishment for me, right? So I remember writing all these things and, being featured in these articles and CNBC. I'm like, yo, I've done this all in 1 year span, less than a year. I can get over anything at this point. So I think with that, it kind of just boosts my confidence in reaching out to some people, some students in my program and getting interviews just by doing that. And that entire, I think 2 or 3 weeks span in that first month of doing job application, the first job recruiter that contacted me is the job that I have now, right? And that first interview, I went in and said that, hey, if it doesn't work out, it's okay. And it's fine. There's still other opportunities for me to kind of expand and grow. Like, I was still in that I guess, reassuring mode. Because first, you get your anxiety, you're scared and everything, but I was still reassuring myself. And that's the job that I ended up getting 2 months after being laid off. And the fact that I got the job making $20,000 more, I cried. Like, let me clear, like, I cried. Like, I was just in shock. And looking back in retrospect, and I remember having a conversation with Lawrence about it, I hated my old job. I could not stand the manager. Like, it was so toxic. And I was telling, Lawrence trying to reassure me, yo, it's just a job. It's like, but I hate this job. I hate the culture.
Yeah.
and I really wasn't trying for it to get to me, and I just knew if I didn't leave this position, they were going to let me go. And it happened. Like, I think I just placed it out there.
God let you go. God
let me go. God let me go. But it all came into circle to know that the mindset I had before and to the things that I had put in position for myself, that it all just worked out for the better. That was really my aha moment. It all worked out for the better. Like, it wouldn't have come to this if I didn't have those savings, if I didn't have a home. Like, at least I have a home. And that's the thing I had to remind myself, like, I'm not homeless, I'm not scraping to, like, find all these things, whatever. I can always rent out my home. That's an option. I didn't think about it that way. So it was just positioning my mind to think about it more on a positive perspective. But doing that constantly and really sitting down with myself and this didn't work out. How can I make this work out better for next time? And it's great. That's all I can say. It's great. And it's in the moment of, like, I can work through anything at this point. I really can. So that
ends up being part of the story. That ends up being part of the story you tell and the way you tell it, because struggling is part of the human condition. I think everybody goes through it. Everybody goes through, especially because of social media. Everybody only see the highlights, but we don't see the low times. And it makes it harder for you to, really kind of cope with the scenario that you're in, because you think everybody else is living the best of lives, because they really don't document when it goes bad. For me, I actually had those moments where I was stripped down. I was back in 2012. And I think for a lot of people, especially Black women, you don't see Black men in that vulnerable space, right? I was in that car. I don't know how to cry, But
was it a Honda?
No, it was a Camry. It was a Camry, and it had the AC sucked, so it was cracked.
Okay.
So it was hot. It was rainy. I didn't have a little sign rain thing, so I had to roll down the window, take some of that water. You know what I'm saying? Roll it back up again, and you feel so sad and depressed in that moment. Like, dang, you. In that year, 2012 was such a radical year of just things happening over and over again. From I believe at the time I didn't finish my master's program. I wasn't doing well in there. I was adding on student loans. One day I looked at it, was like $80,000 worth of master's student loans debt. So it's already stacking up. The girlfriend I had at the time, at the very beginning of that year, she basically kind of just left me because she felt that other people were going to give her more of an opportunity for financial security. So she left me. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I was kind of like, well, you can take anything. That's the first to go. The next thing, somebody hit my car. So it was their fault. And I had to chase down to get their insurance to fix the car. So that was another big issue. You know, imagine driving around with a car that barely works and now it got a hit on the side. It fractures your emotional psyche and it messes you up because people judge you, make it seem like you're the one that got into the accident, but it's actually somebody else. On top of that, at the time, my dentist said I had to take out my wisdom teeth start to hurt. So not just one, but all four. And because because I didn't have insurance at the time, he's like, well, you have to get this. It'll cost you this much money. I think it's about like $5,000 in the end I had to pay for everything. But in that moment, I was like, I don't need to get the expensive Novocaine or whatever other stuff to get there. I literally got my wisdom teeth were pulled with nothing but local anesthesia. That was it. They put it all in there. I felt every crack, every pull, every tug, all the fixing, everything, because I just didn't have the money to even have the insurance. And I've seen people that have been there. Medical expenses, like, it takes people down a peg. And I think it probably cost me like $10,000 in totality. But ultimately, it was just a problem on top of every other problem. While people you're trying to get in a relationship with, they're looking at you like you're trash. So the first job opportunity I had in 2012, later on that year, was for a job, or the only position that even allowed me to get it was making $23,000 per year as an admin secretary for the Florida Agricultural and Services Department. So I try to make the best of that job as much as I can. Like, they only paid once a month too. It's not only that you had a cheap paycheck of like, 50, I think it was like $1,300 for that month. It was just one time everybody hit on that one Monday or something like that. And that was it. And after that, you got to make that sucker stretch the entirety of the month. And it was hard. It was very difficult. You got to pay, your credit card debt, your medical stuff, all this other thing, all while you're thinking that you failed at life. And you have to put on that bold face and say, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And one day, I started, like you said, acknowledging some of the accomplishments that I had. And one of them was I had a successful run in the Marine Corps. I was a veteran. I was like, I've known how to, adversity. I know these tough times. And one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ride this bike. And not only ride this bike around the corner or whatever it is, I rode a bike for 75 miles. There was a trail that was back and forth in total was 75 miles. But I just got on that trail and I biked it. And that experience itself really, you run out of water. You run out, like, you're in the middle of nowhere. You're like, you see Confederate flags every once in a while. You're like, I might want to keep pedaling. Like, and the hours start hitting you. When it's 4 hours in and you got to get home, you're like, you got nothing left. And I think that's part of the entirety of what sat me back to reality. Like, you do get to the point where you have nothing left in the tank, and then you still got to give it a little bit more. Yeah. While other people, they don't, they get off the bike, they panic, and they just sit there and they just completely let the depression kind of take them over. But ultimately, I just kept on, biking to a point where at one point I was to get upstairs, I was crawling up the stairs because my legs just gave out. That's how bad it gets. Like, you're really crawling into the home. And when I got back, one of my roommates like, hey, how was the ride? I'm like, it's terrible, but it's done. And after that day, I took away from that an experience that I'll never forget. Like, it really pushed me to remember that I'm made of what's it called, sterner stuff. I can actually be better than where I was yesterday, and I can actually try. And ever since then, my life has radically improved. About a year later, I was making, 6 months later, I was making $32,000 a year because I shifted jobs. After that, I shifted again to making 64, 6 months after that. And now I'm making well over $100,000. All of this because I took that bike ride that really changed me. I acknowledged, the mistakes that I made. I acknowledge the successes that I've had, and I allow myself to be stripped down to that point where there's no bravado left. There's no ego. There's no pride. When you got no job, no money, no nothing, you're at the bottom. And at the very least, the only thing I can say about the bottom, there's only one place to go. It's up.
It's up. Exactly.
Woo! We out here with some financial therapy out here. We came in there.
Heavy.
That's real.
Lovely and out there in the shock faces. What's going on in life? And I did want to share a couple stats though with everybody because I think the McKinsey and Company released a report called The Economic State of Black America: What Is and What Could Be. It's a collaboration between the Institute of Black Economic Mobility and the McKinsey Global Institute. Ultimately, they found, and I'm going to scroll down to the actual parts that make sense. They found that a lot of Black people, 20 of the occupation that we typically occupy, make up 60% of the jobs that we have, which is really part of the racial wealth gap disparity. 43% of Black workers are in jobs that pay less than $30,000 annually. 30% of public spending goes to programs that feature and amplify wealth disparity as far as home ownership and things like that, or even credit card repair. Then additionally, the median Black family's wealth is, at least as of 2020, $24,000. That's the total amount that we have. Majority of that comes from what I would say is the assets like your car. That's where majority of that comes from. And 2.7 million Black Americans live in deserts that lack multiple vital resources. As we always hear, there's a food desert, but technically It's not just a food desert, it's an opportunity desert, and it's also a time desert.
Exactly.
So if you're from Miami or even South Florida, a lot of Black people go from one area of town, get on a bus, and they ride all the way to another part of town, which is about anywhere from 45 to 2 hours away. So you have to add that to who we are when we're thinking about, how we live our lives functionally. Your parents, they're gone for a vast amount of time throughout the day, and they can't provide more than just that. And that's what becomes part of the wealth discrepancy that we have. And I think, you know about the Black stats in regards to Black businesses, right? Lovely.
Yeah, lovely.
Can you drop some heat for us?
Yeah, I'll pull them up. I have a whole
Oh, you got a list?
Yeah, it's my
Well, as you pulling us, I'm gonna add this one thing. It says 3.5 years. We have a 3.5 years lower pre-pandemic life expectancy as Black Americans.
Life expectancy.
Yeah, being that we just basically die sooner. I think it's probably due to stress and opportunities.
Yeah. In the healthcare, I think I heard it was Wang. He was what's his name? One of the previous presidential candidates, Alex Wang, right?
Alex Wang. Oh, you talking? I know you're talking about Wang Gang.
Wang Gang, yeah, Wang Gang.
It's Yang.
Why would you say Wang?
Yeah, you said Wang. You from Korea? You out here to call everybody Wang
I
out there.
I had to think.
It's Yang. It's all right. You should know the difference between Koreans and somebody else, man. I think he is Korean.
Is he Korean or Chinese?
I think he's Korean.
He's Korean? Okay.
I think he's Korean.
Okay. I think I seen a quote.
Andrew Yang.
Andrew, I don't know why I get Alex. I'm always calling him Alex. Andrew, he looks like an Alex. Andrew, I think he had this quote about being poor costs more or something along those lines.
Oh, he's Taiwanese. My bad.
You see what I mean? I'm like,
we had to clear it up on the podcast.
He's Asian.
Hey, whoa, we got to clear it up on the podcast. Let's do our research out here. Taiwanese.
I didn't think he was, because Yang is not a.
Like, you're out here full blown Korean at this point, huh?
I'm like, I don't think that's a common Korean. But anyways, but yeah, he had a good quote about being poor just costs more in terms of just when you mentioned about the wisdom tooth that you can afford, the wisdom tooth. Let's say you couldn't afford it at all. So now you're going through time and your teeth is deteriorating, right? And so that costs more. And now you got to take off work because you get this tooth, resolved and everything. So let's say, you don't have paid time off. So now you're behind on your bills. So there's so much of like these tiers, and it just, it bounced on each other constantly, like this pile of things, because you don't have that wealth opportunities or that racial wealth gap that is constantly being pushed out right now. So being poor really costs more. It really does.
Yeah, they say being poor is the hardest job in America, and I believe it. I've been poor, I know it, and I've seen a lot of people that have been even poorer than I was, and I've lived that lifestyle. It is extremely difficult because you're going from point A to point B, from hard job to other people manipulating, the system to benefit off of you. So, for example, I was making like, I guess $250 a week working for FedEx or something like that, after like really like literally 40 hours a week, like really put in some stuff, grinding into your body.
FedEx workers work hard.
And you get like $250, you're like, man, that's it. And then some people, they take it to check cashing store, and those places charge, interest upwards to 300%, over time. And all of this is just chipping away, especially as you just get older and older, and it's just not going to get easier. So there are ways to fix it, but man, it's hard.
It's a recurring cycle of poverty that we don't discuss. And I'm very familiar with a check cash place. And
we all know.
It's not the greatest feeling at all. Being back in college and have to take out a loan, I guess a loan, and that at that time, I didn't realize how high the interest rate were, or identify. I'm just saying, okay, I just pay them back, but it's a recurring cycle because I already paid the debt or whatever I need to pay off with that loan, but now I have to owe back the check cashing place. And, it was constantly
they take a fee.
They take a fee, exactly. I forgot, how did I stop? I think someone gave me money and then I didn't have to do it anymore. So it kind of stopped the cycle. But it was like this constant back and forth. I'm just like, yo, I need to stop doing this. Like, how? But I had to pay him back, and I think, at that time too, I had some college homegirls. I think what she did was she didn't pay him back. I still remember she did not pay him back. And they went, at some point they go into your checking account to just, they forcibly take the money out, deduct the money out. But she didn't have any money now. The money was already negative in that account. So she transferred her money to another bank. So that's what she did to kind of break that cycle. But she still owed the bank all this money, the fees and stuff. It was just toxic.
She probably destroyed her credit and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Money still owed
somewhere. It's a lot of problems. I think that's another conversation for another podcast. Like all these stories that we have, like stories of being, in the opposite direction of being super wealthy. And now that we're working on, being wealthier, I'm happy that we're sharing these conversations through the Financial Griot podcast to let people know that we like, we did all these things. We made mistakes. We had some successes, and at this point, life is getting a little bit better, but we haven't forgotten the people that we really want to help.
Right, exactly.
Well, let me round out with some black business stats here, and then we're going to close out so that you guys can come back for another episode, and we'll be deep diving into it. I'm not going to tell you guys all the stats because there's so much, and I have a whole list. But I'll go into the philosophy of what these statistics mean for our businesses. So an average right now, there's about 2 million Black-owned businesses, which is not a lot because we make up 13% of the population. So that really means we own really only 7 to 8% of actual businesses in the United States. That's problematic because if you look at the stats of wealth, having small businesses or being invested in businesses actually helps people grow their wealth. So I want to give you context for that. Another thing is that most of the firms, out of only about 900,000 own businesses, actually pay people out, which means that most operations or Black-owned businesses are solo operations. Solo operations do not scale. If you cannot scale, you are not building wealth. You just have created yourself a job. And that's not necessarily good for growing businesses. And although you might have heard over entrepreneur.com and Forbes.com that Black women are the fastest growing new business owners, the problem is they're not raking in the revenue. On average, most firms don't make more than $24,000 a year. That's the number compared to their counterparts in the women category that are making over $141,000. And then if we go to the white male that are making over $700,000 on average of their businesses. So when you start looking at those percentages, they're not good. So while starting a business is cool, if you can't grow it to become at scale so that it can make revenue, then it actually becomes a liability. People don't want to hear that, but it's just the truth. I would rather you being at a job making 50, 60, 70,000 than create a business that's only making $24,000 a year, where you cannot be able to help your family and also help yourself. So I'm going to end with those. I think those are hard hitting, but I think we'll do a whole episode on Black businesses, and we will talk about like the instances of what it really takes to build a business. And also, more than likely, capital is also a problem. But if you don't have good credit, you don't have assets, you cannot get a great loan from businesses. So it's multi-layered. One thing affects another thing, that affects another thing, that affects another thing. And we only get about 1% of the funding. So I hope that you heard what you heard, because that's just
yeah. It's a lot. And I know we've gone through a lot of conversation today, and I hope we didn't scare you guys. We're gonna keep a lot tighter. We just want to share some stories first so you know who we really are. As always, my name is Lawrence, Delva-Gonzalez, because I'm freshly married and freshly changed my name. And just wanted to drop my name in there because I'm cool like that.
And we got to talk about that. That should be a cool episode. Like, that would be definitely a cool Black families and joining. Joining names.
That's a good idea.
That's a toxic conversation. It's an emotional conversation for me.
It's totally fine.
I'll talk. I don't mind. I'm just
Let's make him cry. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, I could try. It never happened.
Let's rub our fingers together in Atlanta.
It's a hope and a tear. It's a hope. It's a hope.
It's going to be I think it'll be a great conversation. We won't probably do it. We'll give you a chance to kind of warm up, don't
even warm it up.
Let it marinate. It hasn't been a year yet. Let it marinate. No,
I'll let it all ride. I don't have no problem with doing this. I know we're going to talk about a lot of different topics here. Either it be, just personal finance directly, budgeting, investing, buying a home, or even just a lot of different stories that I think, that's the true essence of Financial Griot, the intersection between everything that we live and play in this world.
Right.
It's hard. It's not easy. It's something that we have to process, our own personal relationship with ourselves, a relationship with other people, our relationship with money, and our ideals of money as well. So we're going to be talking a lot of these things, and it's going to grow a lot of people as well. So I'm happy.
Yes.
I'm excited. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. And my name's Alainta, Alcin. Not Mary, but Alainta. So I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to hear more stories, because as we talk more, I'm learning more and more about you guys, personal stories and ideas. So, possibly bringing guests in and other topics. So I'm all about sharing, because sharing is powerful, because our stories are powerful. And we learn from them and we pivot from them. I'm in a great example of sharing my own stories with others. So I'm here for it. So let's do it. The Financial Griot, FG. I love it.
Yeah.
FG.
It looks really nice. I'm just thinking about
TFG. Is that good? Yeah, I like that one. TFG.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was the Financial Griot with lovely Merdelus, Alainta, Alcin, Lawrence, Delva-Gonzalez, and I hope to hear you guys again. Well, you guys we won't hear you. But
where can they find us? Where can they find every last one of us?
Oh yeah, we got to do that. I'm sure there's going to be something in the show notes. Lawrence has a great podcast. Not podcast. Well, he has a great.
Can I talk to him about myself? Can I just everybody do themselves? You don't have to.
Yeah. Okay. Lawrence want to talk about himself by himself. So let's make that happen. So
give it to him.
Lawrence, you can go first. Lawrence,
okay. I'll go first. Ladies allow me to go first, so therefore I will. It's not toxic here. So it's not gender binary, none of that stuff. We got, Obviously, there's no patriarchy. Like everybody's themselves.
Oh my God.
Well, my name is Lawrence Delva-Gonzalez. You can find me on the interwebs at www.theneighborhoodfinanceguy.com. There's the entire word, theneighborhoodfinanceguy.com. You can also find me on IG. I post about financial literacy, budgets, investing ideas, and even ways that you can structure and do money management better. And over time, it's garnered a lot of attention. I think a lot of people love the content. And we've also, me and my wife, been featured on the Business Insider. So I'm better than, these other people.
Oh my gosh. Here we go. Anywho.
I had to be humble about it. I had to be humble.
Anywho. What's up, guys? So you can catch me on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel that I launched last year. It's under my name, Alainta, Alainta. I talk about personal finance. I also talk about self-development and just like stories of others like we're doing here on the Financial Griot. Y'all can catch me on Facebook under my name as well, Alainta. Or if you want to shoot me a question, LinkedIn, a lot of people ask me random questions as well. So I have some articles posted on there. I've been featured on the Neighborhood Finance as a guest content creator, writer. So you can find me on there as well. So I'm here. I'm out here in these eco streets. What about you, Lovely?
Let's see. Let me just talk about what's taking all my time right now, which is I'm the CEO of 1159 Inc. We are a innovative consulting firm. So we help businesses go to scale. And what scale means is actually being able to expand your business more than a solo operation, more than a couple employees, so that you can actually build out wealth and pass it along for legacy. So we take your ideas, we take your probably failing parts of your business and make it work together in harmony. But on my regular personal Instagram at Lovely Merdelus, I literally just share my lessons along the way. Like you'll see me share my tweets. More and more, I'm going to be doing some video. I really just want to help people see that they can do their life by design. They can do it with actually detail and precision of what they want to do, what they want to become. So it's just for the most important thing for me is if anybody comes across my content is that you realize that you don't have to live your life the same way over and over and over, but you can actually scale it. You can make it beautiful. You can actually be happy. I think I spent a good amount of time in depression and I didn't realize that until like years later. That's what that was. Like, oh, I'm depressed. Things are not going well. That's because I'm not living my life for myself. Oh, I can make a change about that. So that's what my content's all about. And I hope to share in my writing, my video. But mostly I'm out here just building businesses so that I can take over the world one day. Yeah.
I love that.
Not bad. And thank you guys for actually sticking with us the entirety of the time. I know we took an entire hour of your life, and I hope that we added some functionality, some effectiveness, some ideas, even some aha moments, because I think a lot of people, they only see the successes, but they don't see kind of the work that it takes to get there. Mm-hmm. And this is the context. This is that now you're inside the web, you're inside our little circle, all our secrets. So you can against us, you can feel, I know he failed, like that kind of thing. So I do hope that you come back and you shoot us like whatever 5 stars and whatever other ratings that are out there. Share it with a friend. That's what I'd say. Anybody got anything else to say to roll us out?
Subscribe.
Subscribe?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I'm like, I got to do that too. I keep forgetting. So when you get a chance, guys, make sure you subscribe to my channel on YouTube. It's under my name, Alainta, Alainta. And also, I'll give a moment to post, information for our podcast here, the TFG that I love. I'm trying to act like, create this acronym for the Financial Griot.
That's exactly why we should not invite HBCU members.
You know what?
I said what I said. I said what I said. We do have a VP that is from HBCU, but there's some other HBCUs you just don't invite. Just let you know.
We made it to the whole podcast towards it.
Without you see what I mean?
There had to be a bus, and we had to throw somebody under, and it just had to happen.
It had to be me. Whatever. So make sure you guys subscribe to my channel.
And subscribe to my channel. You guys know that we're positive people. Please.
Go Bisons. Go Bisons.
Oh my goodness. Well, you guys subscribe to the Financial Griot podcast and please leave a review. That's how these podcast things work. The more reviews you leave, the higher we rank. The more we rank, the more people we reach. So subscribe and leave a review. I know it's our first episode, but let us know. How did you enjoy it? And if you didn't, that's totally fine. We'll take feedback. But either way, Lawrence and Alainta just gave me those look like what feedback. But we will take feedback. We will take feedback from our beautiful listeners here. And that's a wrap.
Yay.
Wrap.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Griot podcast, powered by the Wealth Builders Collective.